Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
In working with my clients, I ask a couple of fundamental questions, and one of them that I always ask is, are you sleeping? And of course, everybody says, well, yeah, I sleep.
Sure.
But then I ask, okay, what is the quality of your sleep? It's not so much the hours that you get, but I also ask, do you fall asleep quickly? Do you fall asleep slowly?
Right.
And then of course, they give me an answer, but then I go, okay, is your sleep set so that when you fall asleep, then you stay asleep all night? Or do you constantly toss and turn?
Sure.
Do you wake up and you're in the middle of a conversation with yourself and you're then having this conversation as you kind of cat nap all night long for 6, 7, 8 hours? Mm-hmm. What's the quality of your sleep? And so that's kind of, I guess, maybe where I'll ask you.
I mean, I think generally it's pretty good. It didn't used to be. I've lost a lot of weight, and I think that has helped my sleep quite a bit.
Okay.
I am over 50, so, that can cause you to get up a couple of times in the middle of the night, occasionally, depending on what you've consumed before that. But I think probably most of the time I fall asleep pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I also have a routine before I go to sleep where I read.
Okay.
And I don't read on a digital device. I read a physical book.
Okay.
And so I read until I'm kind of getting tired.
Okay.
And then I put the book down and I go to sleep.
Okay.
And I think I go to sleep pretty quickly. I've never timed myself. I do have, I could wear my Apple Watch and, have it kind of give me a rating. And I've done that before.
Yeah.
And it comes out pretty good most of the time. But
okay.
I don't know what, for good sleep for me means that I could get to sleep around anywhere between 9 and 10 at night, and I get up at 4.
Okay.
So that might not be what's clinically called good sleep because it's not 8 hours or whatever they say you should have. But I feel good in the morning.
Well, I know that growing up, my grandparents or my granddad would always say the sleep before midnight is twice as good as the sleep after midnight. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess if you're a morning person, yes. If you're a night person, then probably not.
Well, they were farmers, so they were
they were definitely morning people.
Yes, they were.
My 4 a.m. schedule would be their schedule.
Yeah. Well, so they've done some sleep studies, and so I wanted to kind of dive into this a little bit because I think truly that our sleep, the quality of our sleep, heavily influences then our satisfaction of the day, how it just influences so many other issues, how we deal with people, our patience level, our tolerance of all the crap that we get to go through. And so this study, and I thought it was kind of interesting because it's not just about good sleep or bad sleep or how many hours, but it's also about how we sleep and how our brains kind of function. In fact, they even identified 5 distinct sleep types.
Okay.
Which they didn't really give a name to. They just called it LC1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which I'll go into here in just a little bit. But it comes down to something that, again, now that I'm working as a therapist, I truly do believe, and it's part of our treatment, is your sleep. And so I thought maybe we could explore a little bit about the influence that sleep has and maybe help spread the word that, well, how can we get better sleep and why it really matters to have quality sleep.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So again, as I said before, it's not just how many hours you get. Just laying in bed for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours doesn't mean that it is good sleep. In fact, in this study, they analyzed over 700 different adults, men and women, and they used brain imaging, they used self-reporting, and then they engaged in some cognitive tests to kind of uncover how our emotions and our physical health influence our sleep. And as you just mentioned, the reading,
right,
it kind of calms your brain a little bit.
Yes.
And which is better than watching TV or engaging on, our phones, because I know a lot of people engage. I will admit that I'm somewhat guilty of this myself, of playing games on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I've seen you do that. So I think that for me,
Yeah.
right, and I don't have any empirical evidence on this, but I read a lot of things, and
Yeah.
I think that for me, reading the book helps because it's just, black letters on a white page.
yeah,
My room is not, super bright like, say, my classroom would be.
yeah,
And so, there is a little bit of maybe strain there trying to, read the words, and then you get tired and get a little bit more tired naturally, right? That's how I feel about it.
sure.
I try to shy away from the devices, and I'm not completely faithful on that because of the blue light.
Right.
Because the things I've read and, suggest that the blue light keeps you awake. It like tells your brain that it's time to get up. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm reading something on a device that they're all emitting blue light because it's LED, then I'm going to have a harder time going to sleep. And I find that to be the case. Like if I get up in the middle of the night and I look at my phone, I have a harder time getting back to sleep than if I don't.
Right.
So I really try to not look at it. There's really not that much important in the middle of the night. Nothing good happens after midnight, right? Like, so, anyway, I think, and I couch my sleep in, like it's sandwiched in reading. I read at night, I go to sleep, and as soon as I get up in the morning, I read more
Okay.
from the same book generally,
Yeah.
unless I finished it. But, and I don't even think it matters what you read.
Okay.
Like some people like to read something that's less thinking, right? Like a romance novel or something.
Right.
Whereas I tend to read books that are more like, I don't want to call them self-help, but they're psychology based.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm always looking at research. And so that's a much more thinking kind of a thing. But I don't know, maybe that tires my brain as well.
Well, everybody sleeps differently, and what works for one doesn't guarantee that it'll work for someone else.
True.
And that's kind of what they were talking about in this study as well.
That's our disclaimer. So if this doesn't work for you, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yeah, because everybody needs something different, and because we all live different lives.
Sure.
But what I liked about this is that these are general good rules. I mean, I've known for a long time that having the TV on in the bedroom all night long while you're trying to sleep is horrible for quality sleep.
Right.
Because the light fluctuates differently.
Yeah.
The noise will wake you up. So,
I will admit, if I'm alone in a hotel room,
yeah,
that's what I do
you have the TV on all night?
all night long.
Okay. Well,
I don't want to hear whatever else is going on around the place. So
I will say
I
that.
struggle to fall asleep without my wife being there. So
Okay, fair enough. I actually use when I've traveled, or even when we go visit family and friends, instead of a TV, I actually have an app, a noise making app.
sure, like a white noise.
Yeah. And so I have a fan, as I put that in air
Yeah.
quotes. And so this fan then makes noise all night long, which helps me sleep because I have a fan. I'm a crazy person, I know.
No, you're not.
Because I got a fan. It's dead of winter. It's
Hey, I got 2 fans in my room. So
okay. Well, all right. But the white noise, I have ever since I was maybe 12, 13 years old, I've had white noise. So I can't sleep in total silence. Total silence makes it more difficult for me to fall asleep and for me to stay asleep.
in a future podcast, we're going to talk about addiction to white noise.
We can.
But that's a tool for you, right?
Yeah.
Like that is something that, and I've heard that from a lot of people. I've lived in the north where it's cold.
Yeah.
And I've lived in southern Florida where it's hot all the time.
Yes.
And I have always had fans. It doesn't matter what season, what time of year, what the temperature is outside, what the temperature is inside. It doesn't make any difference, right? I run fans. I know lots of people who do that. It does help to have a little bit of noise.
Well, it helps. For me, I mean, growing up, we had a basement in our house. So we either had a humidifier to put moisture in the air or a dehumidifier to pull moisture out of the air, whether it was wintertime or summertime.
Yeah.
And so I just got accustomed to it. So, but yeah, we all sleep a little differently and we all need different things. But what I liked about this study was how it came up, and I, defined the 5 different traditional or basic sleep patterns that a person might have. And so, and like I say, they call them LC1, LC2, LC3, LC4, and LC5.
Sure.
And I thought, well, isn't that an interesting 1 through 5? Couldn't come up with a better name. Anyway, so the first one is this LC1, and they identified it as poor sleep with psychological distress. And this is people that they struggle to fall asleep, they struggle staying asleep, and even after they've had 6-7 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, they wake up exhausted. They're still very tired. And usually you can tie this, and I have experienced this myself, when you're worried about something, when you've got some anxiety,
absolutely.
when you've got some depression, when you are just emotionally overwhelmed with stuff going on at work,
Sure.
at home, all that kind of stuff, it is hard for your brain to relax enough because you can have that physical exhaustion and you'll just pass out. But that doesn't mean that you're actually resting, and your brain has to rest.
Yeah.
And so if you've got this on, because there have been times where I'm worried about something, I'm nervous about something.
Sure.
Going back, when school would start, either after summer or after Christmas break, a lot of times, sometimes even on a Sunday night going into Monday, going back to school, I was going, I'd work myself up and I would not sleep very well.
Right.
And so I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that some people have reached a point of Zen, right, in their lives where nothing really bothers them.
I'd like to be that.
I'm hoping I'm getting close to that. But I've had lots of times where generally it's something out of your control, right? Like something's happening in your life that you can't control at the moment, and you worry about it, right? And it just eats at you, and you try to rack your brain to figure out how can you solve it and what can you do differently. And this person, doesn't seem to like me. What can I do to be more likable, or, whatever. It's just like, you're distracted by the fact that you can't control something. And you feel like the only way to make it better is to bring it under your control, except that's probably not going to happen.
Well,
right. So, I mean, we have that like locus of control, right? Where like there's things that you do have control over, and then there's a much larger circle of things that you don't have control over. And we tend to get anxiety and things. And I think when we get into those spaces, and then it disrupts our sleep,
and
because we're just, our brain is just trying to figure it out.
And that's, totally. And that's kind of what they're suggesting here is find a way to address that stress, address that anxiety, address that depression, address those emotional issues, because the emotional issues make it hard for you to sleep, and the sleep makes it hard for you to deal with these emotional issues. They basically, to use their words, they mirror these sleep disruptions mirror our emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, I guess maybe you could even argue it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in regarding to our sleep.
And I think that's why, my wife and I have talked about this, that, we do things after work in order to distract our minds from work.
Yeah.
Right. To try to get off of thinking about the work, the anxiety that might be associated with it. And then I happen to read the kinds of books that I read, because I'm just always trying to figure out how can I be better at something.
Sure.
And so because I feel like my ability to be better or worse at something is the thing that's in my control. I can't control how everybody else reacts to it or what happens there, but I can control me.
And that's kind of what they're saying. And they're saying if you can find a way to heal yourself, whether something you can convince yourself of through reading or coming to talk to me, your local therapist, or even sometimes if it's a confrontation you're having with somebody at work, in your family, just have that conversation.
And one of the greatest things you could do is start a podcast with your local therapist, and then you wouldn't have to actually pay to talk to the local therapist. Right.
That is true.
Only one podcast per therapist, so you probably want to get your picking in.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you already got me tied up. All right. Well, the second type that they talk about, they call it LC2, and they identify this as psychological symptoms, but normal sleep.
Sure.
And they're saying that individuals that face stress or low mood have minor issues, but you're still able to sleep relatively well. And they identify this as sleep resilience, meaning that your emotional distress doesn't really disrupt your sleep. So you're feeling pretty good about things. And from what I've heard you describe so far, this might be more you. You know, you're worried a little bit about things going on with your career, with the degree, now that you're all done and pursuing a different direction, but it's not overwhelming you. It's not overwhelming your ability to deal with stuff. And, or maybe it's this podcast and we're doing therapy.
I mean, maybe. Maybe, but I mean, our topics are so random that I don't know, but.
Okay, probably true.
But I do think that, part of this has to do with part of it has to do with stage in life.
Okay, yeah.
And part of it has to do with how recently has something massively changed in your life, right?
Okay.
So for instance, I've been at the same job and at the same location for 5 years, and I am, progressing in that. And so I don't really have a lot of anxiety about it. I am very comfortable where I am. I am comfortable with what I do. I know what I'm doing, and I like what I'm doing. And so I don't have a lot of issue with that. The things that do come around me that are anxious in some way are usually in somebody else's life, which might be very much related to mine.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lose sleep over it because it's not happening to me. I might, have a lot of care for that, but it's not going to make me lose sleep. But I think that part of it is experience, right? Like your stage in life, you get more experience and you start to realize not all this stuff really matters in the long run.
Well, and kind of what they're saying too is that when you're in this, if you're in this type or this stage of a sleeper, the sleep actually helps fortify your ability to fight
Handle,
off these emotional distresses.
I would agree with that.
The third type they identify is LC3, which is where you need medicine to sleep, where you are taking sleeping pills. I will admit, I take melatonin at night to kind of help me sleep, but I also use melatonin as a natural way to help fight depression because I do suffer from depression from all the stuff that happened with Eric and the divorce and all of that. And so so that helps me, but I know people who do take serious amounts of medication and they can't sleep without it.
Sure.
And so...
And I can't really speak to that. I mean, obviously that medication comes with a prescription from a medical professional, and they obviously see that as necessary. I don't know what those things that my wife has had those kinds of medications in the past sometimes to help sleep, but mostly she uses a sleepy time tea. Okay. Right. And I know a lot of people who drink tea at night, and it kind of helps you calm the nerves and gets you ready for sleep. So I don't think any of that's really new. And, I guess if you need that, I mean, I wouldn't want to do it long term, but you have to go with medical professionals on that.
True. And like I say, I do know people that do it. Just shows but
sure.
What I've learned too is that a lot of times if you're using the medication to help you sleep, which is great, but it's blocking what's causing you to not sleep.
Right, so you may not be dealing with the other thing, right?
Which is usually some
it's
kind
like if I take a weight loss drug, but I still eat like a horse.
Yes,
I'm probably not helping myself.
Probably not. So in which case, like I say, you need that. To me, I say you're hiding from the problem, and until you address the problem, whatever that emotional issue is, it'll have a negative impact. The next one they talk about is short sleepers, and there are people that can function on fewer hours of sleep. They don't need a good 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep like I do. They can get by with 5, 6, maybe upwards of 7, but they can take, they're just, their body has condition. One of my dearest best friends growing up, he can get by and function pretty dang well on, 4 or 5 hours of sleep at night. And those are fine.
I do about 6.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes less.
So, okay, this
And
might,
I feel great.
and this might be partly you.
But I also think that means that at night I also go to sleep better because I'm tired
Well,
by the time I
and
get there.
that's kind of what they're saying here is that you're adjusting your schedules, you're prioritizing your downtime, which is what you've already described that you do, which helps you then your body be able to rest well, your brain rest. And they're saying that for the most part, these people do okay. They do identify that. So take this for what it's worth. If you chronically go with 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, 4 to 5 hours of sleep would be my guess on this. You do run risks of having cognitive issues as you get older in life.
Well, maybe that's what's wrong with me.
But you can, but again, they identify it as long time possible, not guaranteed, but possible
So-
cognitive decline over your lifespan.
Here's my thing, though. For me,
Yeah.
I said, I'll go to sleep anywhere between 9 and 10, and I will get up at 4. Now, sometimes I get up when I wake up.
Okay.
And when I wake up, I know I'm awake.
Yeah.
I could wake up at 4, and even if I tried to stay in bed, I would never go back to sleep. So there's really not a lot of point in just laying in bed, right? Like I could get up and start accomplishing something. That's my day. But I will wake up sometimes at 3:30,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So I feel like on those nights I get the best sleep. When I wake up and I still feel like I need to stay in bed, I have the worst sleep.
And that's what the study shares. It's not just how long you sleep, but the quality of
Right.
that sleep. And that ties right in with this last one, what they call LC5, and they identify it as fragmented or disturbed sleep, and this has been me on occasions where you fall asleep, but then you wake up. And maybe it's because you got to go pee.
Yeah.
But you wake up and you toss and you turn and you roll, this side, that side. You wake up and you have you're in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
It could be because you have sleep apnea. Maybe it's because your snoring wakes you up. When I was married to Eric's mom, it was very stressful for me. And so I had what I thought at the time was restless leg syndrome.
Right.
And because I get muscle cramps and it would wake me up. And so these disrupt your sleep.
Yeah.
Which,
Now, I've definitely had that too, right? I mean, prior to losing, 50 pounds, I would wake up in the middle of the night frequently, and that's probably sleep apnea. Right?
Yeah.
I would stay in hotel rooms with colleagues who would tell me that I snored like a truck driving down the road or a train, and I would graciously buy them some earplugs. But,
okay.
since losing the weight, right, just another condition, right, an underlying cause, I sleep well now. I probably still snore, but it doesn't wake me up. I'm not, gasping for air necessarily. And I don't know that I was before. I was never diagnosed with anything like that, but
Okay.
it seems to fit the symptoms, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. So I'm going to rule out 5 for me.
Okay.
And just for fun, I'm going to say I identify with LC2 and 4. And since those are even numbers, I'm an even sleeper.
Well, then I guess I must be odd because I do have this LC5. I've done LC1. But again, 1 and 5 are very similar in that they're both linked to issues related to anxious feelings.
Sure.
Even substance abuse can influence if you self-medicate with drugs or alcohol. Okay, that you pass out, but are you real? That's not the same as your brain truly resting. And what's sad is when this happens, and this is your primary sleep pattern, it's harder for you to think and focus and concentrate. And
so we're talking about how the sleep is affected by other things in our day.
yes.
How does our sleep affect our day?
Well, and that's again part of what the study talks about is that poor sleep worsens our mood, makes us more irritable, less patient, and we have more emotional distress, which then makes it hard for us to sleep because we're frustrated, we're pissed, we're worried. So you get into this, self-fulfilling prophecy, this horrible loop of behavior, and they reinforce each other. So to stop that,
Right.
you can just let's talk about what's causing you to feel anxious, to make you feel depressed, to make you feel angry or frustrated. Let's address the issue. Because if you can address the issue, then that rests your brain, which allows you to actually sleep.
Right.
And it's amazing what happens with your patience level with other people, which is probably why my road rage is worse in the evening than it is in the morning. Or is it the other way around?
I think everybody else's is worse in the evening too. So that's probably why you're fighting everybody else. But I just, it's like a circle of life kind of situation, right? Like one feeds on the other.
Yes.
And it just keeps going round and round and round. And somehow you have to break the cycle. And this is where I think I have just found so many things in life that affect it, whether it's my financial resources stressing me out, or the fight that I had with my wife or my kids, or the fact that I just ate an entire bag of Doritos and now I'm having a stomach distress, or whatever that might be. There's so much you can do during your day that will affect the quality of your sleep at night, and then that quality of sleep that you get that night affects your next morning
and your next day.
And I mean, I just think that like when you come into work and your coworker is just in a grumpy mood, right? I mean, to me, there's probably a lot of things going on. But the most recent thing is they didn't get any sleep.
So you can give them a Snickers bar,
right,
in case they're...
And I see this with students.
Oh, yes.
Students will come in and you can tell that they've had a rough night. I don't know what else is going on in their life, but I can give them a little bit of space to... for that morning, especially in a morning class, to just make sure, hey, you got to regulate yourself a little bit and see if you can, collect your thoughts and get into maybe a slightly better mood.
And that's what, again, then I'd like to address is what can we do about this? And a lot of it comes to notice your patterns, notice your sleep behavior first. And then let's explore, look at those issues that are causing you distress. When you wake up in the middle of the night and you're having a conversation, think about what is this conversation about? Who is it with? Because usually it's not just with yourself. You're talking to somebody else, but but think about, track your mood. If you're constantly finding that you are moody, that everybody around you is so crabby, just trying to piss you off, it may not be them, it might be you. And so think about all these things that it's going on that might be causing you to sleep. Maybe it is. Maybe it's because of the TV is on. Maybe it's because of, you're on your phone. There could be a lot of different things that play, as we've talked about. So explore those in your lives and experiment by addressing maybe one at a time and see what that can do to influence.
Now, I know that we've talked a lot about things like journaling.
Yes.
Over last year.
Yes.
And I've been reading more books that suggest even focusing in on things like that. So if you're not sleeping well, write down the things that you're doing, what you're eating, how you're feeling, and see like the time of day and everything, and see how do you think that's affecting? Because you can write down the negative things and then have a solution for yourself. What am I going to do differently?
Exactly.
And see if any of that affects it, because you can change a lot of things in life by journaling. And I think even in the middle of the night, if I wake up and I write something down, and I've done this before, just write it down and then go back to sleep.
Yes.
Like put it on paper. That kind of gets it out of your mind. And go back to sleep.
I have suggested.
And then look at it in the morning. Because when you look at it in the morning, you're probably going to be like, that really isn't that big a deal. I can deal with this. This isn't a problem.
Or how many times have you had a genius idea in the middle of the night, but when you wake up in the morning, you've forgotten it?
Right.
So if you don't write it down,
so many people have
like
invented things that I already invented, but I didn't ever write them down.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen. But these are things that can help you, because if you prioritizing your sleep, investing in your sleep, being consistent can help. Optimizing, make sure it's cool, make sure it's dark. My mother-in-law doesn't sleep very well, but the TV's on, there's 2 lights on, and the bathroom light is on. And it's kind of like, well, maybe if we made it darker, but I'm told to ignore that. But being a cool room, Sherry and I keep our bedroom between 68 and 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And so that helps, having a cool room.
Yep.
Again, doing things that you can to put your mind at ease.
And this is where I come back to what I like to read, and the reason I like to read it is that the only thing that I can really do in life and truly affect 100% is me.
Yes.
And if I can make me better, whether it's health, whether it's finances, whether it's, sleep, whatever, however I can do it, whether it's how I act towards others, that's the one thing that I have complete control over, right? Mm-hmm. My actions and the things that how those actions affect me personally. And
yes.
so that's my focus and has been my focus in life for the past couple of years. And I think that it's working for me.
One of the things that I was shared way back when I was going through divorce, mm-hmm. and I share this with my clients again and again and again. You cannot control what happens to you.
Right.
You can only control how you respond or react.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, sleep isn't just a nightly task. All right. It's a way for us to both reflect and decompress. And it's part of taking care of your body. You take care of your body will take care of you. And so, anyway, the next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., remember, your body is communicating to you. So think about the type of sleep that you're getting and see what you can do to turn it around.
All right. So, we'll have to report back on this in a few months.
All right. Well, I'm feeling tired now. I'm going to go to bed.
Siesta sounds great. Then I'm going to not sleep later, though. So.
Well, fair enough. All right. Well, then, until next time, may your sleep be fantastic. I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Good night.